Hey, what is going on guys, and welcome back to another Genshin Impact video. Today I'm going to be going over the Blackcliff weapons, which are in the shop for another 2 days almost. So if you're unsure about whether or not you should get them and which one, then this video is for you. Let's start off by talking about the Claymore, the Blackcliff slasher. This thing has 42 base attack and 12% crit damage at level 1, and at level 90 this thing gets 510 base attack and 51% crit damage. When you compare that to the Serpent Spine, the weapon from the Battle Pass, it has the same base attack, but this one gets 27.6 crit rate at level 90. So if you were to use the Blackcliff, you can afford to use a crit rate helmet artifact, so your stats would be 51% crit damage with 31% crit rate. But with the Spine, you would have 27.6% crit rate and 62% crit damage. So you would be losing out on about almost 4% crit rate, but gaining 11% more crit damage. In all honesty, I think this is better than the Serpent Spine, mainly for Diluc, since Diluc is constantly taking away his own stacks from the Spine by burning grass, and he gets crit rate from Ascensions, so you can comfortably get 45 to 50% crit rate with okay-ish substats on your artifacts, and then stack up a bunch of crit damage on the weapon. I also think this is a better option for Chongyun, because if you're using Chongyun as your main DPS and you have 2 Cryo members on your team, you get the Cryo Resonance in your party, which gives you 15% crit rate versus enemies affected by cryo, which with Chongyun is going to be absolutely everyone. So you don't need to have that much crit rate from your weapons, you can just have a little bit from artifacts. And in this case with Chongyun, you could use either a crit rate hat or a crit damage hat. It just depends on what substats you have on the rest of your artifacts. However, for the other carries like Beidou and Razor, I would prefer the Serpent Spine. The reason is because you barely get hit with Razor, since you're constantly and endlessly staggering enemies and juggling them when you're in your ulti. And with Beidou you have a free parry, so you can completely avoid taking an instance of damage. And since they're both electro, they don't really hurt themselves unless you find yourself near a body of water. So I think they can maintain the buff pretty easily. But not only that, the passive is also way easier to proc. You simply have to exist for about 20 seconds, which is not very difficult to do. And it's also available during boss fights, unlike the Blackcliff, because most bosses in the games don't have ads, so you can't really proc the passive off of them and then go and hit the boss. You don't really have a passive in those instances, which really sucks. Now the other thing about the Blackcliff passive is that it gives you 36% increased attack at max stacks, and like I said, you need to get a kill for each stack, which is impossible in bosses, and you're not going to see that effect in a lot of floors in Abyss. However, the Spine increases your overall damage, not just your attack, so it is actually more, even though it's 30% and not 36%. So in conclusion, yes, the Blackcliff is worth your money if you are going to use it for Diluc or Chongyun. For the rest of the cast, it uses Claymores, including the upcoming Xinyan. The Serpent Spine is better in my opinion. Now you might be asking yourself, well, what about the Amunis? Well, the Amunis is a completely different style of weapon, and it just offers raw damage. There's no quality of life when it comes to stacking stats. However, it is because of this that it pretty much fits almost any character in the game. So my suggestion to you is to prioritize either the Blackcliff or the Serpent for your main DPS, and you already have my suggestions for that. And then give your Amunis to your Claymore support or secondary Claymore DPS if you have one. If they're your support, you don't need to be super stacked, you just need them to have some stats. And the Amunis proc has a 15-second cooldown that doesn't go down by refinement levels. So it kind of functions as a Claymore fillet blade. You swap in your secondary Claymore or Claymore support, you hit it, proc the passive, and then you swap back. Next up we have the sword. Now I'm just going to tell you guys straight up, do not get this. It's really, really bad. The black sword from the battle pass is light years better, and even if you're completely free to play, the prototype Rancor is better too. It has the same base attack, but it gives 35% physical damage bonus at level 90, and its passive also gives you 16% attack by simply hitting a target. So you don't have to get kills, you simply just have to hit a target and you get the buff, which means you can use it anywhere, boss fights, Abyss, everything like that, it all comes together. This is also way easier to refine, a lot cheaper too. And it also helps your defense a bit. So just completely skip the Blackcliff sword. It is not worth it. Next, we have the Blackcliff pole. And I know a lot of people have asked me about this weapon because of the upcoming Zhongli banner. Now, when you compare it to the Deathmatch, which is the Battle Pass pole arm, it gets outclassed. You don't need to kill anything or do anything really for its damage buff to activate, which is equal to having 2 stacks on Blackcliff, and it gives a crap load of crit rate, okay? It gives you 36.8% crit rate at level 90, which means you can more comfortably use a crit damage helmet for better stats overall, and you barely need good crit rate substats on your artifacts. However, as nice as all of that sounds, they both get outclassed by the Crescent Pike, which is a free-to-play craftable polearm, at least for Zhongli. The Pike has a higher base damage, it gives physical damage bonus as a substat, and it increases the damage of your normal attacks by 20% of your total attack. And it doesn't require any kills or anything like that to get the bonus, so the only downside that it does have is that it doesn't have any quality of life improvements in terms of building. I guess the only thing you could say is that maybe it decreases the necessity of a physical damage bonus artifact on your cup, so maybe you could go with an attack one if you don't get lucky enough to get a physical damage one, but you're going to have to completely rely on your artifact substats in order to get good crit damage and crit rate. Now, the reason why I say that this is really only applies to Zhongli and Xiangling at the moment is because we don't know anything about Rosaria for now, and Xiao converts his auto attacks into a Nemo when he's in his ulti, so the physical damage is kind of wasted on him more than half of the time. So if you're looking to get a weapon to use for Xiao, I would recommend the Deathmatch instead, simply because the passive just works, it helps his defense, and the crit rate is huge. It's more crit rate than a maxed out 5-star artifact. Now let's talk about the bow, which a lot of people have asked me about for Child. This one is tricky because, again, it depends on who you're going to be using it on. If you're going to be using it on Child, then it's pretty good. He can get the stacks very, very fast, and the crit damage synergizes perfectly with his kit. Compared to the Viridicin Hunt, which is the Battle Pass bow, it only gives 27.6% crit rate, so it's pretty low, but it's more than the Skyward Harp even. But of course the base attack is nowhere near as high. But the passive also just works without kills, so it's pretty good. But without refines, the cooldown is way, way too long. So even in this case, I would recommend the Blackcliff over the Hunt. But he is the only character that I would recommend this weapon for. If you want a better weapon for Fischl or Amber, for example, the Prototype Crescent is way, way more effective. And for characters like Venti or Diona, the Favonius or Sacrificial bows are way better. So if you're looking for a weapon for Child, get this. If not, then skip it. I can't say I recommend it for Ganyu either until we get to see how she actually will play out. And now finally the Catalyst. When you compare this as a main DPS Catalyst weapon to the Solar Pearl, which is the Battle Pass Catalyst, it gets completely destroyed. The Pearl is eons better, and even then you also have the Mappa Mare, which gives you Elemental Mastery, which is amazing on Catalyst, and it gives you Elemental Damage bonus too. So yeah, skip this one completely as well. Alright guys, those are my thoughts and suggestions. TLDR or TLDW in this case. Get Blackcliff Claymore if you're looking to use it on Diluc or Chongyun. Get the Blackcliff Bow if you're looking to use a weapon for Child, and skip the rest because there are way better free-to-play friendly options. I hope that you guys found this video useful, and I hope that it may have helped you make a better, more informed last-minute decision. Huge shout out to Sin Within from the Discord for his help in getting the damage numbers from the deathmatch for me. I really appreciate all the help and hard work he put into that. And if you enjoyed this video guys, then be sure to drop a like and subscribe, and make sure you click the little bell to enable all notifications so that you won't miss whenever I upload a new video. I also want to remind you guys that I stream on YouTube almost every single day except when I'm working on videos like this one, and I want to thank my patrons for their continued support. You guys are awesome. Alright, thank you guys for watching. I will catch you all in the next one. Take care.